Yeah, you think you're pretty way up there, but I can get you.
All right, let me just add 3 more drops of explosive diarrhea.
Adventure Time isn't just a colorful cartoon, it's the hidden story of a post-apocalyptic world. At first glance, the Land of Ooo looks innocent, playful, almost like a fairy tale. But beneath the surface lies a truth so haunting that once you learn it, you'll never see this world the same again. So how did Finn and Jake change its fate? Come with me as we explore this journey from beginning to end. Stay until the end, because behind every character lies a secret that will surprise you. Beneath Oo's cheerful facade rests the shadow of a great catastrophe. Centuries ago, when humans still walked the earth, one of history's most devastating wars broke out, the Mushroom War. The sky turned black in an instant. Cities once glowing with neon lights and towering skyscrapers crumbled into ash within hours. Explosions rattled the earth, tearing it apart. Families ran in panic. Children cried out, but nowhere was safe. Humanity had written its own end with fire, and yet the world didn't vanish. Instead, it transformed into something unrecognizable. Radiation merged with forgotten magic. Rivers shimmered with unnatural colors. The skies glowed in shifting hues. From the ruins, new life emerged. Talking animals, conscious plants, even living kingdoms. It was as if the world wanted to erase human greed by turning itself into a bizarre fairy tale. From that day forward, it became known as the Land of Ooo. Oo's new inhabitants were unlike anything before. Kingdoms made of fire, people born of sugar, creatures who lived in the skies, each carved out their own world. Humanity, however, had nearly disappeared, and that's what made Finn so special. He was the last known human. Finn's childhood was far from easy. Loneliness followed him like a shadow. Even as a child, one question burned inside him. Is there anyone else like me? Then fate gave him a gift. He met Jake. Jake wasn't an ordinary dog. With his magical powers, he could stretch into a towering giant, or shrink to the size of a pebble. But his power wasn't what made him special. To Finn, Jake was family. With him by his side, loneliness faded. They grew up together, playing in the woods, making up stories of heroism, even laughing in the face of monsters. Finn's heart burned with the desire to be a hero, while Jake was laid back and carefree, always loyal when it mattered most. Together, they were 2 halves of a whole. That's why their bond is the heartbeat of Adventure Time. They weren't just friends. They were the greatest hope of a world reborn from the ashes of destruction. Before long, Finn and Jake found themselves in the Candy Kingdom, a bright land filled with citizens made entirely of candy. At first, it seemed joyful and harmless. But the candy people had one fatal weakness. They were fragile and defenseless. The smallest sound could send them into panic. When danger struck, they scattered like children. The kingdom's ruler was Princess Bubblegum, not only a leader but also a scientist. She constantly experimented to protect her people. Sometimes her creations saved the day, other times they unleashed chaos. Her burden was heavy. The candy people were both her subjects and her family. She smiled for them, but when crises came, she stood alone. And crises came often. Giant monsters, living candy beasts, even invasions from rival kingdoms. This is where Finn's heroic spirit blazed to life. With Jake by his side, he raised his sword and fought fearlessly. Sometimes he risked everything to take down a single monster. Sometimes he threw himself into danger just to save one terrified candy child. For Finn, these battles weren't just about protecting others. They were a way to prove himself. Though still young, he shouldered responsibility, showing that true heroism comes from the heart, not from age. When the candy people began to call him a hero, Finn's eyes lit up with both pride and disbelief. These first victories spread his name across Ooo. Finn and Jake were no longer ordinary kids. They were the kingdom's champions, and with each new adventure, they were drawn deeper into mysteries far greater than themselves. If you, like Finn, feel the urge to protect the innocent, stay with the story, because every episode peels back another secret. But Ooo wasn't just about kingdoms. It was also a world of unforgettable faces, deep characters, and tragic stories. Among them was Marceline the Vampire Queen. Over centuries, Marceline had seen friends rise and fall one by one, leaving her with scars that never healed. She was powerful, but her greatest strength lay in her music. Through her song, she poured out her loneliness, her grief, her longing. Listening to her was like feeling the weight of centuries. Her childhood had been dark, shaped by her father, Hunson Abadir. Their bond was tangled with pain and contradictions. But with Finn and Jake, she found something she had long been missing: true friendship. For Marceline, it wasn't just companionship, it was salvation. And then there was the Ice King. At first, he looked like nothing more than a foolish villain obsessed with kidnapping princesses. Strange, goofy, and even comical. But behind the madness was tragedy. The Ice King was once Simon Petrikov. Simon had been kind-hearted, devoted to his fiancée Betty, until he discovered the magical crown. The crown gave him incredible power, but it came with a curse. It stole his mind. piece by piece. The more Simon used it, the further he drifted from Betty, from love, from his humanity. Today, his obsession with princesses is nothing more than the echo of a broken mind. When you uncover his story, you realize Adventure Time isn't just about fun adventures, it's about the downfall of heroes. Simon once saved little Marceline from the apocalypse. The sorrow in her songs carries the weight of that shared past. If you're moved by stories like this, subscribe, because every character in Adventure Time hides another secret, waiting to be revealed. And then, Oo's greatest enemy appeared, the Lich. His goal was simple, to wipe out all life. Thrones, crowns, kingdoms, none of it mattered. For the Lich, destruction was the only truth. His very presence twisted the air. His words froze hope. Anyone who looked into his eyes felt their soul dim like a candle in the wind. Against him, ordinary strength was useless. To fight the Lich, Finn and Jake had to go beyond their world. They stepped into other dimensions, crossed into parallel universes. In one, Finn was never born. In another, Jake stood alone. These journeys shifted the story from lighthearted fun into heavy suspense. Because the Lich didn't just threaten Ooh, he threatened existence itself. Here, Finn's determination and Jake's loyalty faced their greatest test. With every encounter, the question grew louder. What will happen next? If you've felt the tension of these moments, share your favorite Adventure Time scene in the comments, because everyone has a moment they can never forget. And in the end, what remains are not just wars or monsters, but the bonds between characters. Simon and Betty's tragedy shows how true love is tested by sacrifice. Marceline's loneliness reminds us that life without friends is no different from darkness. Princess Bubblegum's endless duty reflects the burden of leadership. Finn's growth proves that a boy can become a true hero, not by avoiding pain, but by facing it. At the heart of Adventure Time is friendship, sacrifice, and hope. Even in the darkest times, it is friendship that holds the universe together. That's why this story speaks not only to children, but to people of all ages, because everyone can see their own childhood, fears, or dreams reflected here. If you found a piece of yourself in this journey, you'll know Adventure Time isn't just a cartoon. It's a mirror of our own struggles and hopes. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us as we continue to explore. Because in the Land of Ooo, countless secrets are still waiting to be uncovered.